probably wrong, because Swami has already taken one of the stones away. And Swami said, no, Hislop, it's not that. He said, when I was creating the ring, the thought crossed my mind, is this an appropriate ring for Hislop? Do you see the importance of that? For a moment, his concentration had fluctuated, and the process of creation was interfered with. You see, Swami makes all these artifacts for people. Probably most of you who have been to Vrindavan have one of these artifacts, maybe a ring or a watch or something. And the question is, how come? Where do they come from? And so Swami says, well, I don't apport them, bring them from someplace else. My workers make them. And so what does that mean? Well, now, the thought is made up of atoms, of energy of some sort. Thought is made up of energy. And that energy is something that vibrates at various frequencies and so forth. Likewise, an object, this watch. Where to put it? I haven't lost it anyway. No, here he is. Never tell us why I take it back. And this is also made of material which also vibrates at various frequencies and various wavelengths. Now, with a master of creation like Swami, what's so hard about Swami just changing the vibration of the air, for example, and the frequency of the atoms in the air to the frequency and vibratory rate of the metal in the ring? No problem at all for Swami. Next question?
Dr. Hislop?
Yes?
I know that prayer can have a tremendous effect, but I'm curious about what actually happens when we pray for another, and what actually transpires. Does Swami change his will for that person? And the second part of the question would be, what is the most effective way to pray for another?
I asked Swami about prayer, and he said, Hislop, very important answer. He warned me an important answer was coming up. So he said that it's very important to pray, and for what you need, or even for what you want. But the prayer should be in a good, loud voice. That is, don't just mumble or just think. But he said a good, loud voice. I don't know how loud he meant you should shout, but that's what he said, a good, loud voice. And he said, for example, the mother knows very well that the small child is hungry or will be hungry. But she knows the child must have food. But she doesn't rush to feed the child until the child cries out. Then she rushes to feed the child. So it's the same with Swami answering a prayer. Furthermore, he said, another very important statement. He said, do not turn away in sad despair if God does not answer your request immediately. Keep praying until you have persuaded God to give you what you want. That happens in a family, doesn't it? The kid yowls until he gets what he wants. So the same thing is the relationship between you, the child, and the Lord, the Father. Now I asked Swami, in part of your last question, what is the proper way to pray? I asked Swami, well, Swami, is there any particular time or circumstances that you should pray in? Because people say that you should be at some quiet time. Swami said, no, Hislop. He said, maybe at first for you to feel comfortable you would do that, but that's not at all necessary. You can pray to Swami in the middle of the street. I don't want to take up time that's not assigned to me. Who's going to stop me? 5 minutes? Okay. Next question?
Dr. Hislop? Yes, sir. I'm back here.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you if you had ever asked Swami about anything of a prophetic nature regarding the course of world events, number one. And number two, has he ever said anything to you about his possibly coming to America?
Everybody hear the question? Yeah. That is, has Swami said anything to me about events that may come to pass? And what has he said about him coming to America? See, when I was the active head of the organization, and I would come to the meetings, people would ask all sorts of things, and most of them I didn't have the right answer. And so next time I would go to India, then I would ask Swami what the answer was. And so about I said, Swami, some people have come to America just recently, and they say that you had a man in for an interview, and you told that man that New Zealand was going to disappear beneath the waters, and a land bridge would arise to Australia, and that California was going to fall into the Pacific Ocean. Swami says, absolute nonsense, Hislop. I said nothing of the kind. He said the ordinary geological events will occur, earthquakes and hurricanes and so on, but Hislop, most of those are caused by human misdoing. So when you hear a prophecy said from Swami that some great thing is going to happen, better guess a second time. Because every time, and I must have asked Swami half a dozen times over the years, every time his answer was exactly right. I never said anything like that. All right, now the other half of the question was about coming to America. One time we were sure he was coming. He said he was coming. And we got his approval to rent university buildings in San Diego as against in Los Angeles. He approved that. So we went ahead and rented the buildings, entered into an agreement. And then events changed in Swami's world. What do we know about Swami's world? How can we say, what events are? But something happened to change his mind, and he didn't come. So the next year, and a couple of years thereafter, I kept on asking him, Swami, the devotees asked me this. The last time I said, Swami, the devotees asked me, when are you coming to America? Swami's response was, what? Don't they know I've already been there? So he's here all the time, every day. In fact, recent years, in the last 10 years, there have been a number of stories of him appearing in the house and playing with the children and things like that. So he's been here. Next question?
Oh, Dr. Hislop. I'm over here.
Oh, okay.
You said that you could, by doing good in your life, you can perhaps cover up anything you may be going through as a karma. Has anything been said to you by Swami, or do you know anything about, for instance, children who may be having, may be afflicted with something, perhaps mental retardation or no speech, or maybe crippled or whatnot? The families are praying for them in a loud voice, as you said. How do they themselves communicate? How can they do good deeds, for instance, if they're,
Well,
somewhere?
you see, okay, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm just saying if they're somewhere,
Yeah.
like a home or different places like
Yeah.
this, how can they or
You
pray
see,
for them?
to the small, innocent children, many disasters happen. We know that here in America, in other parts of the world too. Terrible things happen. How could a small child, could that happen to him? So, one time, some time ago, a lady with a small son came into Prasanthi Nilayam. And the boy had been wearing part of the family fortune around his neck, which I guess is the case sometimes in the Indian villages. They haven't got any bank to store stuff, so they have the gold in the family. So this boy was wearing one of his mother's golden chains. So two robbers came and took the necklace, and to keep the boy from identifying them, they gouged out both of his eyes. And so the mother came to seek help from Swami, compassion from Swami. Maybe do something, give the boy his eyesight back. But Swami told the mother, he said, "Mother, this little boy, your small son, in his last life was a very, very cruel man. And he gouged out the eyes of at least half a dozen people during his lifetime. So Swami does not see this little boy just as you see him. But if as time goes on, and this boy realizes that something terrible happened to him, and that he in turn must have done something terrible to deserve that, and starts to feel real genuine remorse, then if there is that genuine remorse, then Swami may forgive him and do something to help him." So that has to be said about what happens even to small little children. It's the result of karma. But karma can be set aside, or largely set aside, by the further lifetime activities of that person.